Good morning, I'm Laura Young. Before we start on our secret share today, I want to mention that I know it's really hard to stay calm and centered in the middle of such uncertainty. And at the end of our time together, I have a gift for you. A gift that will help you maybe get in touch with letting go of some of the fears and worries and anxieties, and maybe being able to see more of the bigger picture. So welcome to number 6 in our series. And I'm excited about this topic because it's one that most of us stumble over, one end of the spectrum or another. So what is this creative energy not being rightly used that Osho, an Indian spiritual man, talked about much earlier? I have been working on this obstacle in my life, oh goodness, maybe 45, 50 years. And it's gotten so I'm not so hard on myself now when I miss the boat and forget what I've learned. I've been so devoted to this particular issue, I've even written an ebook, and did an audio on my site, LauraBYoung.com/store. And I think the title is, and the item that it gives us so much trouble, the behavior, is anger. So my work is make anger your ally. Anger shows up in our lives on a spectrum. People don't realize that irritation, cynical behavior, judgmental, punitive words, all of that is on one end of the spectrum that seems to be culturally accepted. There's so much of anger in that space. It seems to be not associated with the passion of anger that some of us find ourselves in the midst of. On the other end of the spectrum is rage. And of course, rage quite often triggers back to childhood wounding. In the middle is anger. And as long as we're human and alive, we're going to have anger. All of us have anger. We can deny we have it because we haven't been helped to express it properly. Many women use tears for anger because they don't have an inner permission to really speak in anger, so they use tears for sadness and tears for anger. By the way, men tend to, in our culture, use anger for sadness and anger for anger. So we're kind of conditioned and a bit polarized. In your family of origin, how were you helped? How were you conditioned around anger? Many hold it in, suppressing it, and normalize whatever happened to them, the stings, the arrows, the hurts, and say to themselves, it doesn't matter, it wasn't so bad. She didn't know what she was doing, or maybe we're not even that conscious, we just suppress it. Let me tell you, there is no free lunch. Suppressing is very bad for your health. It causes depression, it causes anxiety, but neither is lashing out at people. And some people rage and cause themselves heart conditions and blood clots, you name it, it happens. So either extreme is a problem. One is to come out of denial that you have it. Everybody has a well of anger. And someone said to me one time, and I believe it to be true, based on my practice and my own experience with my own well of anger, every woman alive has a well of rage. And part of it is learning how to deal with it. It's enormous energy that we're sitting on. Anger, rage, denial, suppression takes a lot of energy, so it doesn't pop up when you least expect it. And it does for some people, you know, just like a balloon in your back pocket. If you sit on it long enough, you're likely to burst out inappropriately at a bad time and wonder, where in the world did that come from? It came from inside of you. Let me give you an example of the difference. If we're conscious of our anger and we own it, we can work with it. If we're unconscious and we suppress and we kind of have a feeling, that's a barbaric emotion, a volatile emotion, and it's not me, and so we're afraid of it. I meet women a lot of the time who are afraid of their anger, feeling if they ever poked at it, they may never stop. So part of it is giving yourself an inner permission to be curious about what's in your well. One, I spent earlier, I told you I spent, several years in an orphanage. So I had a lot of stuff pushed down on my well. Be seen and not heard. Who do you think you are? Authoritarian nuns. I came out of my corner. I usually survived reading, but my sisters got in trouble. I came out to defend one in particular who got in trouble a lot. Rageful, absolutely rageful. So I knew there was heat there. But that kind of rage, when you are triggered to do something like that, because at that point I took they threatened to throw me out of the orphanage. Well, where was I going to go? But I didn't care. That kind of rage is false power. I'm here to tell you there is a lot of power in redirecting your anger, but using it like I did in the orphanage like that is false power. I'm happy to tell you that through many years of therapy and many exercises and much meditation and much work on that hot spot in me that can get triggered easily, I have now developed, I think, a way to look at it that's much healthier. Let me tell you something that happened recently. I was having as life is messy, it was a morning filled with obstacles. The roofer couldn't come fix my roof, and I was concerned about a leak. He couldn't come because it was raining. My internet was shut down, and I needed to really get a message to someone. And I live in the country, and I'm not at the office yet, so my internet was shut down. Then I got a scam call from someone pretending to be my grandson, and I got furious. As if I would know my grandson's voice, but I know some older people who have been scammed out of money because of this. Well, that was the breaking point. I got furious, absolutely hot. And I thought to myself, what in the world am I going to do with this? I need to leave in a minute and go to work and be there and be calm for people who are depressed or whoever I was seeing today, which was, they were having their own struggles. I didn't need to be in the room with them struggling to keep my calm. So I did one of the exercises that I recommend for you, and I watched myself do it, which is very different than at an earlier time when I'd be so in it. I wouldn't be able to step aside and actually watch it. I went into the bathroom mirror. I thought, I've got to get this out of my body. I have to. And I screamed and I yelled. And I yelled I yelled at that person, that man who had scammed all the old people. I yelled for all the old people who didn't get to speak up for themselves in a situation like this. I yelled. It was very powerful. And again, I was aware of how much energy and how much power is in our anger that we stuff or store. And when it was over, you know, if you know anything about me, I have a Roman Catholic background. And you know, with a Roman Catholic background, you have plenty of saints to go to for different reasons. You know, like St. Anthony, if you lose something, he's really helpful in finding things. Well, this morning I went to St. Michael the Archangel. St. Michael is fast. He's a warrior. He has a sword, and he has that energy that I was able to connect with at that moment. I just needed to talk to somebody about this experience. So I said to him, hey, St. Michael, did you see that? Wow, did you see the power in that? You know, silence, but I think he heard me. I said, I am amazed that I'm able to step away and actually recognize how much power is within me. So instead of getting rid of our anger power, which, you know, we don't do, I asked him, I said, help me with this, help me keep aware of this, and help me redirect some of this amazing power to other areas of my life. And because I carry on like that, talking to the saints, I believe I was heard, and I believe since that moment I've become more conscious of maybe before I get triggered. There's a few seconds before we get triggered when we can make a choice. But it's almost like I'm getting some nudges and some help, or maybe it's because it's my intention to know to use this power for life in a different way and not keep it in the well, all bottled up, waiting for an explosion. I'll tell you another example. I had a couple of siblings, grown siblings from the same family, come to see me. They were raised by a mother who said, turn the other cheek, be nice, be cheerful, be sweet to each other and to me. So on the weekends, when possible, this woman would go to see boxing matches and also football games. And in the moment of these matches and in the games, she would get all carried away with the more brutal it was, the more she was engaged. She would just yell, kill him, kill him. And they said she didn't even recognize that she had within her all of this rage that never had been addressed. And they'd go home and they'd have Sunday dinner. Of course, these were grown now, but when they were growing up, they went home and had Sunday dinner. And then by Monday morning, the mother would say, oh, no, turn the other cheek, and would expect them to be sweet and kind and to have no conflict and no disagreement. So you see, then they just started, as adults, they started to avoid her because there was such a discrepancy in her behavior at times and what she had been teaching them all through the years. Stuff your anger, don't express, don't have any disagreements between yourself or towards me. And then she'd pull rank on them a bit and say, why don't you want to come see me? Why don't you want to come see me? I'm all alone now, and there's nothing that I've done that should be keeping you away. They tried to tell her a couple of times with a family meeting how inauthentic visiting her was and how superficial it was. But she didn't hear. She couldn't hear. So when you hear, part of it is learning, when you hear I'm not angry, it's not true. People are afraid of their anger. We're raised and conditioned, particularly girls in our society. Don't yell, don't be angry, don't do this, don't do that. So we think there's something wrong with us if we feel angry or we feel disturbed. I mean, a woman who was angry with her husband, and he was emotionally abusive, there's no doubt about that. But she needed to take a stand with him. And she said when she stood in front of him to say, no more, you have to stop, she started to cry. So we're working on her finding her core and finding a space within her that gives her permission to speak her piece and be angry if she needs to be, not rageful, but angry, without tears, with knowing she has a right to feel what she feels. There are many, many ways we express anger, and if we're not clear that it is what it is, we need to call it by its true name. And it is an area where we can feel amazing power at times. And usually if there's an overflow like I was experiencing that morning, you can meditate or redirect. We all have an inner guidance if you stop and reflect. You can redirect some of that energy to be in your life flow. So if you don't get this piece and own it, and it's okay, it's part of being human, and look at the spectrum and own the spectrum and know it's all anger. Assertively standing up for yourself, you can have righteous anger. I mean, I feel like the man and the grandchild issue, where I was so furious about all of the old people who have been scammed by that kind of thing, I felt that was righteous anger, except there had been an accumulation that morning, and mine went into a well of unbelievable power. So for once I wasn't judging it and thinking I should be further along. I would encourage you to give yourself permission to express. Anger needs an expression out of your body so you won't get ill. It needs an expression, large muscular activity. I was doing like the yelling, but I mean, sometimes it takes something, a sturdy hammer and a chunk of firewood, or something physical, tennis balls. It needs something and you be aware of what you're doing. You're allowing the volatility of anger to be up and out, and what you keep in there as you allow that is your personal power. The raging tends to be false power, but after you express, You're giving yourself permission to have your personal power. There's a lot more to anger. You may go to Laura B. Young and go to store and under obstacles, make anger your ally is in-depth study of what to do with this disturbing emotion. But when rightly used, we use it for passion and creativity in life. And now, as I said at the end of our time, I have a gift for you. A gift that I hope will help you slow down a little bit and get in touch with your inner strength and peace. Go to LauraBYoung.com/relax. LauraBYoung.com/relax. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you next week. Bye-bye.